Hello and welcome to the Disruptive Innovation Festival, the online festival of ideas curated by the Ellen MacArthur Foundation that asks, what if we could redesign everything? I'm your host today, Merton Lansley. I work with the digital team at the foundation, and we're joined by Circularise. Now these guys work with the blockchain to push towards a more circular economy by merging that disconnect between physical objects and the digital world. So don't forget that this is an interactive session and that you can ask any questions down below or go on Twitter, #ThinkDiff or #Circularise to get in with the discussion. So now I'm going to pass you over to the guys at Circularise and David will kick things off. So take it away.
Hello and welcome to Delft in the Netherlands. We're here in the Yes Delft Center on the edge of the TU Delft campus. I'm joined with Circularise, and we're going to be looking at using blockchain to merge the physical world with the digital world. Let's introduce who's at the table with me. First of all, Jordi.
Hi, I'm Jordi. I'm founder of Circularise, co-founder of Circularise. I will be answering all your blockchain questions today. And I'm joined together with my other colleague, Mesbah.
Oh, who's just run off. He's gone to do a bit of clicking for us just to keep the show on the road.
There you go. Now you can see it.
I'm Mesbah.
There we all
I'm
are.
Jordi.
Here we all are. That's fantastic. Well done, guys. Thanks. Yes, we're certainly going to be looking at this phenomenon of blockchain and the physical with the digital. I'm those who know me. David Peck, TU Delft. You may have heard me on the massive open online course that we've run in partnership with the Ellen MacArthur Foundation and Leiden University and other colleagues. And what interests me is the physical world. And I'm really fascinated on how the digital world can help. So I've got a couple of just quick slides I was just going to talk through. Have we got the first slide to pop up so we can have a look? Yeah, here we go. Yeah, I love this. This is the world full of challenges. And I mean, this isn't a comprehensive list. I mean, the challenges are so long in the world that we can't get them all on one slide, but I'm particularly been focused in my work on materials. That's one of the bottom clouds you see down there, not to exclude all the rest. What's really important to me as well is the energy and the climate and the waste issues we see on there. But there's a tension down below there, and it's as we move forward with of course, I believe and expect that a transition to a circular economy will really help in addressing these challenges. But there are two sort of tension thoughts there. And one is limits to growth. So in other words, we're heading towards 10 billion people on this planet and there's only so much stuff. And therefore, we're going to hit a point where we have to talk about significantly less. Or, and this is unfortunately sometimes or, I don't agree with it, but sometimes or, tech will fix it. We'll go somewhere else in the universe and go mining there and get resources and energy from elsewhere. And that's where the tension area lies, at least in my research. If we look at the next slide I was going to talk through. Yeah, and this isn't very clear, but this is all downloadable and there'll be links to this as well. This is called critical materials. So this is where you have a two-axis graph. You don't need to read it, but the two-axis graph across the bottom will talk about economic importance of a material or the economic hit if you don't have that material. And the vertical axis will talk about security of supply and whether you can be sure that you're going to get that material. And there you see a range of materials. This is the EU list, which basically say, well, we've got a whole bunch of materials which are potentially insecure in supply, but if we don't get them, they're really important. The thing that strikes me about that is a lot of these materials are essential for a low carbon transition. So if we're going to have any chance of keeping this planet well below 2 degrees global warming, and hopefully well below 1.5, I would wish, that's going to be challenging, but we're certainly going to need a lot of these materials. And so that's a tight area. And that's something I worked with Mesbah on way back in the day. And the final slide. And this is a sort of framework that I've come up to try and help me think around the whole area. And it's where you get the traditional areas of going to a circular economy. And you see those on the left side where you've got materials, engineering and design and business. So this is where we see a lot of focus with different authors and thinkers around the circular economy are very focused on that side. What I'm equally interested in, and I looked at this from history as well, is if you're going to have a transition to a circular economy in a resource constrained and energy constrained world, we definitely need to talk about policy and regulation in society. And we need to bring that all together. And that's a really big challenge. But I think that's one that potentially new entrants, new companies like Circularise may be addressing. Thoughts, colleagues? Tell us about what you're doing.
So my name is Mesper Sabur. I was back in the day, as Jordi already said, a graduate student of his. While I was working on my thesis at the Delft University, I addressed critical materials from an entrepreneurial perspective. I was trying to see whether we can use some entrepreneurial work and basically understand the critical materials. And well, I'm still not understanding it, because as I understand, it's like an extremely hard topic. But we got up to a point where actually we could, call ourselves a startup. Got funded by the EIT raw materials. So that's where we are right now. That's Circularise, and our mission is basically to make sure that communication in the value chain is established in a very open and secure way, because we think, and that's also one of the findings of my research back then, was that talking about materials and being able to get the right information at the right time as a recycler or refurbisher is critical in actually being able to do any sort of re-looping of these materials, whether that's refurbishing or recycling or redeploying the materials in whatever way. So yeah, that's a bit of Circularise. We're going to go more in depth in a moment.
So hold on, let's just be clear then. So you're saying if you have better communication with key actors in the materials value chain, it will increase the likelihood and increase the benefit of closing material loops.
Yeah, definitely.
Is that the basic sum of what your business is?
Exactly. So to give you an example, while I was doing my research still, I looked at a recycling company. I'm not going to name them because there were like a few, but they were recycling companies here in the Netherlands, and they are like top notch. They're like the best recycling companies in terms of standards and all that stuff, in terms of output in the world. But the thing that I was shocked to see when I was there is that they are using a lot of manual labor to extract certain stuff and to sort it. So, for example, they need to sort batteries in a different stream. They can't put it into the same stream, or PCBs in a different stream. And they are using manual labor to just crush them and see whether there is a PCB inside, and if so, what kind of grade or what kind of quality it is. And the same goes for a lot of different factors as well. So I was shocked by that, and I thought to myself, why is it that they can't just make these sorting decisions automatically or in a way more efficient way? Because there is sometimes they just open a television, it takes them 5 minutes by hand screwing all that stuff and just hammering it down. And then they see no mercury, for example, so they've done all the work for nothing, but just they can't do it any other way, because they have to make sure that they don't put mercury in the wrong streams, right? So there's a huge communication barrier there, where they just don't know the right information, whether that's as simple as a battery presence or maybe more refined information as contents of materials and flame retardants, for example.
Okay, so you've got a lot more now. You're telling me about closing loops, talking about recycling, you're talking about possibly reusing components and this sort of thing. Typical good things to do in a circular economy. But I'm still not clear, Jordi. I'm not clear on there's this communication thing. So how's that working? How's this communication operating?
So what we've seen right now is that most of the communication is either done just by email, by emailing each other and just asking what is in this product. There is actually one giant manual that recyclers can get where producers explain how to best take apart their products. But this is a paper document. And if you visit a recycling facility, you'll just see all these manual working standing there in a line. They're not going to browse through a paper manual just to see how they should work. It takes too much time.
And isn't there a lot of variation in the stuff that's coming in? So, I mean,
yeah, so
you don't know what's coming next.
Yeah, it can be stuff from 20 years ago. It can be stuff that was put on the market just last year. You don't know. Okay. And this mixture of different types of equipment and different ages, basically, where we use different ways of putting stuff together, this is a really giant barrier. And the communication is just, it's not happening. There's no extra benefit for a producer to actually communicate about this.
Okay.
Why should they? So
how do you do it? How do you solve this?
So what we found out is that producers, they don't want to overly, they don't want to share all their private data. So they're not going to give you the bill of materials just because you ask for it. So we can either wait for legislation, which has been promoting this for about the last 30 years, I believe, or we must find another way to give recyclers the ability to recycle properly without actually sharing that information. So this is where blockchain comes in, not your normal run-of-the-mill blockchain. Basically, what we are developing here is a new system, which is called smart questioning, where you can leave all the data at the producer and you can ask questions to it. So the bill of materials is at the producer's office, and you just ask, is there a fire retardant in the plastic? You either get a yes or a no, but the yes or a no is calculated at the system of the producer, and only the answer travels. So they're not sharing their information, they're only giving advice, basically. That's how you could see it. I just got a nice update. So if you have any questions about circular economy or blockchain, please use Twitter, use the chat feed of this video. We can see everything, we'll answer all your questions. But yeah. That's about it.
Okay, well, treat me like an idiot. I know you guys normally do treat me like an idiot, and that's the comfort zone I like to be in. So I don't actually, I don't understand what blockchain is. So I'm sitting here and going, hold on a minute. I've got this blockchain phenomena. I've got this system where I can interrogate things. I still can't see how it's all working. Fill me in a little bit more. Tell me a little bit more about this blockchain idea. Why is it the key to making your business work, and why is it so different? What's so exciting about it?
Yeah. So we started off by having a very traditional way of working. So we come up with a system that allows for producers to upload their data onto our databases that we use, and then this data can be extracted or be viewed into by a recycler. So there are obviously producers who would like to do this. They're like, oh, I'm gonna help as much as I can. I think recycling is important, and they help you. And we also have an app for the consumers, so we got all that covered. But then you have this with producer number 8, let's say Philips or Samsung or whatever, and then you go to another one and you ask them the exact same thing. So at some point you're going to grow and grow, and that's where the limit is in a traditional way of working in our case. So what you see is that if you're gonna go and set an industry standard, which is something we need, otherwise it's never going to work, is recycling is only receiving 1 out of the 20 products with our label or with our system. It's not efficient for them to use. So you need to have at least 80–90% of the streams that use the same communication system, otherwise it's not going to be effective. So
hold on, you're now telling me there's a label in a system.
Yeah.
So what's this all about? Come on, let's get clear on this.
Let's start from the beginning. So
yeah,
if you look at the way we embrace the system is like this. So we have an example product here, and we want the recycler, obviously.
Hey. I like bright ideas. Bright ideas. Do you get the joke? Sorry.
You can turn it on, actually.
Yeah, don't turn me on. Right. Keep going. Keep going.
So I hope it's a bright idea, because once you have this product, you open it, and then it will tell you that everything about this product can be on your phone. So in other words, you can actually pick up your phone, download our app, and see everything about this product, whether that's going to be the warranty, the user manual, the receipts, the accessories that you want to buy, or you're going to repair it. It's going to be on the phone. So this is something very oriented towards consumers. And as a consumer, you can obviously have all this information. You can repair your product whenever you need it. And this is a way to approach labeling, because that is the start. Obviously, if you want to talk communicate between different parties regarding a product, let's say the recycler wants to know whether it's a battery, you need to do some sort of a communication system. So we start with a label. And the label is, in this case, here. Let's see if I can show it to you guys. There it is. Focus. Yeah. So that's our label. It's called a CirQR label. It's a circular QR code.
I was going to say it's a QR code.
It's a QR code.
Oh,
and
nice.
So you will basically, with any modern smartphone, you'll be able to scan it and get all this information. And the reason we do this is that as a producer, once you put products on the market, it's usually a very, very like a black box situation. So it's put on the market, people buy it, and then you don't have any way to trace it. You don't know how long people use it. You don't know whether they still have it, whether they're excited. So there's no communication channel between the producers and the consumers.
So hold on, is this QR code and this information and now this customer relation, this is a nice thing for the manufacturer?
Exactly.
So this is a hook for them to engage.
Yeah. So
okay.
Jordi said, there is no reason for a producer to just start giving their material data to us and just collaborate.
Because that's just a cost.
Of course, it's nice, but if it's not giving them anything in return, why should they? And this is the way we approach it. So I hope it's clear now that with the label, the producer gets a connection with the consumer, but at the same time, we can use that exact same label once this product. I hope it's never getting to a recycling phase because it's such a nice product. But if it gets there, the recycling can just scan it.
We all have to die sometimes. Even beautiful people like us eventually will move on.
At some point, it's
all
over.
Move on.
Yeah,
and this product will move on.
And this one has got a wireless charger in here, but at some point we might even not need the wireless charger. So at some point, this product gets obsolete, right?
So could this information also help me upgrade the product?
Sure.
So then I can have a relationship with the producer and I could upgrade it. So we're
customize it.
We haven't got to recycle it yet.
No. I mean, there are many loops before we get to recycle. You can even use this label to put it on eBay with just by scanning it.
Okay.
That's it. So it's a way to basically engage in various digital communication channels just by using that simple label.
Okay.
For the consumer, and then for the recycler, they can get the right information. So
but
as a
Jordi, sorry to interrupt, but is it only recyclers? Is this not? Would this be any use, this information, for a remanufacturer or for a repair organization?
Anywhere in the value chain, not even past consumer, but also before. So even from the mine, this system already holds value. So basically, we don't care what kind of information you want to add to this label. It's just like a serial number. So this product has a unique serial number, and if you buy the same one, it'll have a different number. And because of that, you can do all your big data analysis without actually asking, for instance, the consumer, like, what's your name, where do you live, what's your email address? Because you already know the product is unique. So you can already do a lot of analysis there. And then any information that you add, you decide what happens to it. So is it something that you want to share with everyone? Is it something that must be behind the smart questioning layer, or is it something that you just want to use internally? So even if you just track shipments in your own company, you can also use the same label.
So hold on a minute. Mesbah was just saying this is all very nice for the original equipment manufacturer of the product and the customer, the user, the consumer. Now you're taking it to another dimension, because you just dropped in there almost really quickly. I've got this mine. So now, for my research, I'm thinking, wow, critical materials and other materials. And so let's just unpack this product for a second without too much detail, because I don't know it that well, but it's got at a guess, because I could see some digital stuff inside there.
Yep.
60 plus elements inside it. Okay. We've got 100, 200 parts, possibly, if we're taking all the electronics to pieces. You know, there's main big parts here, you can see them, but then once we start taking the electronics to bits, you suddenly get a lot of parts, okay? And they're coming from all over.
Yeah.
So we've got 200 parts, 60 elements, and you start doing the maths on that from a global supply chain from all over the world, everywhere from rare earths in China to materials from Russia, South America, wherever, Africa, all over the world. And you're saying with this QR code, different actors in that supply chain could choose to start communicating with each other.
So the big problem is not that we do not have this data. I mean, someone manufactured this product, obviously, but someone also manufactured the parts all the way back to the mine. Someone got it out of the mine.
Yeah.
And they all have a little piece of the information. But it's our job to get all those little pieces together so that in the end, we have a clear picture of what is right in front of us. And even the manufacturer, even this manufacturer, they don't know on an atomic level what's in there. They don't know. All
so what is it about the blockchain thing that stops like somebody with evil intent? Because I've noticed this in the world. I've noticed there's some not very nice people out there. I don't mix with them. I mix with guys like you who are just lovely, right? But I've noticed that there are some sneaky, nasty people, and they want to get into these businesses. They want to find out all this information, and lo and behold, they rip off their product and they steal it. So what is it that prevents that happening?
So the way we use blockchain is that if you make a statement, in this case data, if you upload certain data, or you just say, okay, this is what I know about this product, then that data gets fixed in time. You are not able to change it. You can add to it if something changes in the future, but everyone will know that at that time, this was your information. So that way, even if you have, if you want to change something, probably like an example that we've seen in the past is with mercury. In the past, everyone used mercury. It was no problem. And then after a while, we found out that it was not so good for us. So certain producers, they decided that all of a sudden, all the products which were already sold and on the market didn't contain mercury anymore. And with this system, you won't be able to do that. You cannot lie about what you said in the past. That's blockchain, basically.
Okay. Well, that doesn't explain to me how somebody can't hack this and get information out of it.
So there are two. When people say hacking and blockchain, they're like two things.
Okay.
You have the blockchain itself, which is very, very hard to hack. So the way that the system is built is that you have all these computers that are linked to it. They offer, in this case, right now, proof of work. And if you want to add some other data to it, you have to be better than all those computers. Basically, it's like a race. That's hacking the blockchain. What is easier to do is hacking someone that is using the blockchain. So we've seen that in the past where cryptocurrencies, the exchanges got hacked. That's where people lose all their money and get furious. This would also still be a risk at our system. So if you go to the mine, if you hack the mine and state that your gold is better than someone else's gold, for instance, you can still do that.
But that happens to companies anyway.
Yeah, we cannot change that, but at least we can now prove that it happened.
Oh, okay. All right, so you get early warning. Okay, so I'm now in this value chain. We've now got this information flowing around. I mean, I'm guessing with companies, I mean, it won't be that everything is uploaded all at once, or is that's not how it works, right? Or how does it work?
No, the way it works is basically with something that Jordi mentioned very quickly. Now it's a term that we refer to as smart questioning. So companies have their data. Let's say they know what's inside, how they build it, and another stakeholder has some other data, and all that. That's, if you take that all into account, we know a lot about products, but it's not at one point. So traditionally, you either have to put it all at one point, which gets very sensitive for hacking purposes and all that stuff, or you say, and that's what we are doing, people or stakeholders can keep their data at their own internal servers, And we use something that's called smart questioning to refer to that. So a party can add, let's say, whether they put a battery in there and what kind of battery that is, and another party does not get all the information unless it's put there by someone, and then they can refer to. And let's say a recycler, they can be audited by upfront, and then by that, if we know that it's like a good recycler, otherwise that if everybody can do it, they can actually extract this information, and they say, all right, is there XYZ in this material, and then it will go back to whoever put the data on there. It will be verified, and it will comes back to the recycler as a verified answer.
And so that's a sort of quality gate guard on the system. Okay. So I'm beginning to get this now then. So this is an opportunity, because for those who don't know, I mean, this problem of knowing where stuff is, because you can look at a product like this and see some lovely, looks like softwood on the side. I'm not sure, but it's lovely wood on the side here, and I can feel there's some nice metals here, and because there's glass here. So we can see some materials are fairly obvious. It's the electronics in the materials in the electronics, for instance, that we can't see and we don't know what they are. They're weird and wonderful names like neodymium, dysprosium, and terbium, and all this lovely stuff. You were so modest earlier on. You said to everybody, "Oh, I didn't learn much. I didn't get everything." You got everything. I know you did. You really understood it really well. So these are what it's unfair, but my science colleagues get really angry with me, but I call them hidden materials, right? So they're not scientifically, they're not hidden, but we can't see them. And now you're saying this idea of your business offering and this opportunity through facilitating blockchain in this way begins to bring them out into the light. We can begin to know where they are, exactly, which would be a tremendous breakthrough. So we mentioned in very briefly in the beginning of the session that we got this organization, EIT Raw Materials. So I can say a little bit about that, and then you can say how they've helped you, because you know more about that. So I've been involved for quite a long while in helping set up and working with, and TU Delft as a core partner with the EIT Raw Materials. What's the EIT Raw Materials? It's an EU program. It's a large-scale program, 7 years in the first instance, but decades after that is the plan that it will go on for. It has, in the first 7 years, a budget of around about 2 billion euros. So it's big. So that's over 2 billion, not million, $2 billion US dollars globally. And the idea there is we've got well over 100 partners from across all the European Union who are joining together to tackle the challenge of raw materials and turn it into a strength for Europe. And I know they like you, because what you're saying is transparency and understanding materials is a key way of turning them into a strength. And I think that's true in anything. As long as there's transparency and understanding, we can turn what feels like a threat, something we don't understand and might be a danger to us, transparency and openness, like the DIF. You see how I did that? You see the connection there with the DIF, the transparency and the openness, Ellen MacArthur Foundation. You see where I'm going. Suddenly turns it into open. But what has the EIT Raw Materials done for your organization? How have they supported you?
Well, obviously they started by supporting us just financially. So we got a grant to basically kickstart the whole idea and deploy our testing facilities and all that stuff to make sure whether what we had on paper, whether that's any good in practice. That's resulted also in me and Jordi being able to working on this full time for just about over a year now. And apart from the funding, which is great, we got a lot of help in the network. So EIT Raw Materials got a lot of partners in the academics and as well as in the industry.
You mean like me?
Yeah, like you, exactly.
Yeah. The nice guys.
The nice guys, and then the industry, and then the industry guys. So with this partner, we could leverage it. They have a lot of events that we can attend to, and they also just invite us over to, I think they're in Leuven and Berlin.
Yeah, all over Europe.
All over. And this allowed us, for example, one thing that we did was go to Milan at a recycling facility. It's called Relight, and we actually tested this label. So we labeled a bunch of products and made a very hacked a scanning system there, put a laptop, and these guys who were working there for 7 to 9 years, we just gave them a scanner and said, instead of doing it the old-fashioned way where you just hammer it open and see what's inside, use this scanner and pretend that the system is already working. And then the laptop will show them a big color which indicated how to sort the stream. So that's the idea that we're pursuing, that just by scanning it manually, or maybe with an automatic system in the future, you can sort these waste streams very easily by using the label. And that's what we tested through the help of their network.
So you tested it out in a recycle.
Yeah.
Just for any listeners out there, viewers, do send in your questions, because we'll pick them up if you give us anything on the Twitter feed and anywhere any other ways, we'll pick those up and answer them while we're still live. Geordie, so we've got this lovely product here in front of us. You've clearly here got a super manufacturer engaged with putting the code on, because that's got to be key, isn't it? Because if the manufacturer don't put the code on,
that's basically the only requirement for them. Put the code on there, on the product itself, not the packaging. Well, you can add to the packaging, but it has to be on the product.
So we're looking for manufacturers out there to listen to this, to watch this, to engage with us. Yeah,
that's correct.
And start contacting you to say, what's the deal? How do we do it? What do we get out of it? Yeah.
And the best part of the deal is that you don't have to pay us. So,
free lunch. He said it.
It's not, there's a difference between not paying and free.
Okay.
You do have to pay for it.
Okay.
But the way we are designing it now is that the system itself and the labels itself can become circular as well. So if a recycler recycles this product properly, they will actually be able to resell that label back into the chain to whoever needs it, and they can keep using it and using it. So for the first time, you would obviously buy the label from us. Right now, it's priced at €1 per label.
€1.
That's it. Then you can use it for the specific product.
Wow.
But after that, you'll probably be buying from recyclers.
Nice.
Could you explain the token system here?
Sure.
Yeah. So what's this token system?
This is kind of risky ground, because the past couple of months we've heard some nice things and not so nice things about blockchain and ICOs, or initial coin offerings. We actually have a big discussion over here in the Netherlands in how we should best handle that. An ICO, initial coin offering, is where most of the time the startup is selling their coins or tokens for the first time. But it's the first time that they're introduced to the market. And this has been wildly successful for a couple of startups, some even reaching above 200 million in funds raised in just a couple of weeks. Obviously, that's an insane amount for startups. You don't need 200 million just to build your startup. But it's nice, though. But the problem is that regulation is now catching up in how they should best handle this, because obviously this new way of fundraising is not regulated yet. We also think that it should be up to a certain point. So we are now figuring out how we can best proceed, because we want to launch in the Netherlands. But once we do that, and that will be next year, basically anyone that wants to buy a token can just go ahead and buy one. And then we have something which is called a smart contract, which is basically just a contract consisting of computer code. So everyone can read it, can verify what's happening in this little machine. You throw in the token, and you get labels out of it. And the whole way that this works is that once you throw your token in, it will look at the average price of the token now, if you compare it to euros, so just the exchange rate, and it will give you one label for every euro cent. So that means if you're a producer, you don't have to worry about any of the exchange rates. You just pay 1 euro cent per label. If you just do the transaction fast enough, that's all there is. And then there are some people that like to speculate basically on the value of the token going up. With this model, they can go ahead, because you can just buy tokens and wait a while and either change them back to euros or change them to labels later at a later stage. But the key of this system right here is that if we look at consumer electronics, for example, these products, they have an average lifespan of about 7 to 10 years before they reach the recycler. So usually people use them and then they put them in an old drawer in a box and they stay there for a couple of years before they actually get thrown away. But once we put this label on the product, as the producer does this, basically what they're doing is they're locking this 1 euro cent of token value in the product. So once it reaches recyclers, they can actually unlock that value, but the value can be different from the initial value that the label was made. So it cannot be, maybe it's 2 cents or 5 cents or even more. And we see that this is an extra incentive for recyclers to start scanning all these products. So what Mesbah said before is that you need a certain threshold of labeled products in the waste stream. And maybe because we add some more value to the product, which can be very easily reclaimed by the recycler, this threshold can become lower and lower and lower and start recyclers to do all their scanning stuff.
Yeah. So I just want to add something to the readers that the viewers that have never heard of blockchain or decentralized way of utilizing the application world out there. So basically what this means, this system that Jordi described, is that you don't have to do business with us as human beings anymore. That's kind of crazy, right? So if you go back to the way we used to do business, whatever it was, software or hardware, you always have humans involved. And now with decentralized applications, that's not the case anymore. So there's a smart contract, which is something on the internet. It's open. You can see what this is all about, what it does, if you understand the code. Otherwise, you get someone who does understand the code. And you cannot change it. You cannot take it down. You cannot even alter it. So it's always there. The only way to take it down is to take down the whole blockchain system that's around it, which is crazy. So the way then, as a producer, to do business with us is obviously to engage with a smart contract, which is fully deployed by computers, and there are no humans involved. That's crazy.
Okay. I think we're coming to the end of the session. I'm looking across at my control desk here. How are we looking?
A few minutes, 5 minutes or so.
5 minutes. Well, that's good, because there's a few things I want to summarize and wrap up with and conclude with, and it's a little bit more clarity. I'm really getting it now. I'm loving it. So we got this whole system. Remember the title of this session, using blockchain to merge the physical world with the digital world. And now it's all starting to come together for me. I've got this QR code. This is now my gateway into the digital. So put that on, chunk, I'm there. I've got product info. So for the consumer, between the manufacturer and the consumer, now there's a relationship. And there's all kinds of benefits that go both ways. So there's information, upgrades, could make the product last longer. That's something I'm very interested in my work. So I love all this. So this is now little add-ons and repairs and things that we can do and upgrades and so on and so forth. Fantastic. Nice relationship going on there. Now it's come to the end of its first life. It could go off to repair. It could go off to further reuse. It could go off to remanufacturing. There's a lot of information which flows with this code. Eventually, parts or the whole thing will then go into the recycling system. So then there's massive opportunities there to get, again, that's the physical world, getting stuff out. Jordi, you told us, and you were talking about it as well, Mesbah. You got this whole thing with this Bitcoin, initial coin offering, and this coin offering is allowing other dimensions potentially to come in. And something I was smiling to myself because you said, well, there's things moving in this world. And I thought, yeah, I bet I know one thing that's moving in this world, and that'll be the tax man. Because tax people, there's three certainties. You know the three certainties in life: birth, death, and taxes. You know, the tax guys are going to be there. They're going to be, oh, there's millions of euros flying around. We need to be there. So they'll catch up with everything, no doubt about it. But this is quite exciting, though. So this very elegant and complex structure which you've put in around your business really is quite exciting, and it's not something I've seen before. And that's, I think, what makes me quite excited about it. I can see why the EIT Raw Materials has assessed your business and invested into your business. And now it's looking like the time to take off. So for those viewers out there who are excited about this, and they should be excited about this, they can go on a website, get more information.
Yeah, circularise.com.
Circularise.com. You heard it here, circularise.com. Go on the site, get more information, get in touch with these guys if you've got something that you want to offer and something you want to discuss with them in business terms. They're open for business, I think it's fair to say. And I think this type of innovation thinking that as an academic and teacher, from my perspective, really excites me. How I'm boring. I mean, let's face it. I mean, everybody knows me. I'm boring. I'm the boring old guy. But you guys, you take what I talk about and then you go, hold on a minute. So if we put this with this, with that, with that, with that, and I never forget, you had to sit and explain blockchain to me a while ago, and I'm sitting there, go, hold on, again and again, and I go, oh, okay, I get it now. Unlike you guys out there, they had to tell me 10 times, but I get it now. And this is what makes it really exciting. I think I'm going to conclude now, and I'm going to hand back over to the team on the DIF. Unless there's anything else we need to do, I think not. I think the DIF are now going to wrap up for us and take it over from there. But thanks very much, Mespar and Jordi.
David.
Thank you very much from Delft. Thank you very much from Circularise. And back to the DIF Central.
Great, thank you very much, David. And thanks again to Jordi and Mespar as well. It was a really thought-provoking talk. And I hope you guys at home enjoyed it as well. The idea of tracking a product's life cycle and kind of making it more digital it just seems to make sense to me, and I think that is definitely the way of the future. So I wish you guys all the best of luck in doing what you're doing. So on this topic of on kind of digital themed, I'd highly recommend you check out David Weinberger's session at 8 o'clock later today, where he talks about how humans can thrive when machines are smarter than us. And that talks all about the scenarios where humans aren't needed anymore. And I think it will kind of fit into the idea of, especially when you're talking about smart contracts and there's less need for humans in the digital world. So yeah, thank you again. That's all from me. And we'll see you next time. Thank you very much for watching online, and enjoy the rest of the DIF.